Okay, today we're headed up to Buffalo Trace Distillery. So it'll be a great tour here. We've always wanted to get into it. We had to book it a couple weeks out, maybe 3 weeks out. It's a tough one to get into because it books up fast. So we'll roll the intro and then off we'll go to the distillery. Okay, looks like we're getting there. There. Okay, here we are, Buffalo Traces. We're here about 45 minutes early, which is fine. This way we can kind of poke around and see things, what we can see. And now to figure out, visitors. Now we go back down here. Well, you look at some of these buildings here. Well, we're in line here to get our wristband for the tour, and just waiting in line. Okay, we're headed into the visitor center gift shop. Okay, Buffalo Trace Distillery, Building 28, built in 1881. This structure has been seen many uses over the years. Originally constructed as a whiskey warehouse, it housed barrels of aging whiskey for several decades. As the distillery grew, the building served as a warehouse for bottling supplies. In addition to serving as a finished product as shipping warehouse, today it serves as our tourist center, gallery, and gift shop. Pretty old building. Now as we enter here, and we're just going to wait for our tour. We got about a half an hour, and then you head down this way. The gift shop's clear down there on the far end. And they've got a new drink out that just came out this year. It's called the Traveler. It's easy to drink and hard not to love.
Your tour's at noon. Yeah,
Okay.
This is our collaboration with Chris Stapleton and our master distiller Harlan Wheatley. It's a blended whiskey of Sazerac award-winning whiskeys. This is blend number 40 of the 50 that they trialed. It's bottled here at Buffalo Trace Distillery, blended and bottled. And yeah, it was designed to make to drink neat. So it's got a nice smooth finish on it, really good stuff.
Buffalo Trace Distillery is named after the trails or traces the ancient buffalo carved as they led early explorers westward in search of new adventures, like the rugged pioneers who established this site more than 2 centuries ago. Buffalo Trace Distillery remains an independent American family-owned company who honors its people, its craft, its history, and its architecture. With the motto, honor tradition, embrace change, Buffalo Trace Distillery continues its time-honored tradition while innovating for future generations.
Okay, Brenda found her favorite right here in the little mini bottle, Bourbon Cream. Of course, that went last, so she's gonna have the big bottles instead. Okay, we're going to craft our perfect bourbon. Okay, recipe. Customize your own bourbon mash by selecting preferred ratios of grains. Now, we'll slide this around a little bit. Put a little bit less rye in it. Okay, and we'll continue that.
That would be rude.
Okay, so we're gonna make it a crystal spirit, turn it into what they call white dog. Grains are milled in coarse powder without compromising the integrity of the grains and add to the cooker. Now they're gonna ferment for 3 to 5 days. And then they're gonna distill into a crystal liquid called white dog. Okay, now it's going to ferment. And now we got to deal with the oak barrels. Okay, we're going to hit the ignition here, and we'll do it for 55 seconds. And the warehouse, we got to put it in the warehouse. Okay, here's our barrel. We'll stick it on that floor there. And turn out to, now we're going to age it. How long do we want to age it? Well, I think we ought to age it for 15 years. Okay, now proof. One final step. Bourbon straight from the barrel is 140 proof. And that's a little strong. 120 to 140 proof. Drinking bourbon this strong may cause unregrettable decisions. So I've already been there and done that. So we'll do it smooth here. Okay, you've mildly crafted a mild, spicy yet sweet bourbon. Notes of aged oak and toffee notes. It's a rich flavor. Your bourbon will be ready in 2039.
Had come down the river down this way, which is from the Ohio. They're going against the current on the Kentucky River, about 80 miles away, and they're pretty tired, and they camp out, and they found this place because there was a road made by Buffalo. They never called it Buffalo Trace, but that's why they were here. They had a road that went to Lexington and Georgetown made by Buffalo, and you had a river that went north. Why is that good? Water. Because you go all the way down to New Orleans without a motor. Current would take you all the way down, and then they could trade things and come back on a Natchez Trace and start over again. The only trouble was the Native Americans were not happy with people being here, and they also sided with the British during the Revolutionary War. So they attacked this little settlement called Leestown. One of the brothers got killed. The other brother hightailed it out of here back to Virginia, because this was still Virginia, but he went back to the main part of Virginia and came back a couple years later when everything died down and brought a still with them. Isn't that good? Okay. Farmers brought stills with them because they can make liquor for their family, if we're out in the field, little parties with other settlers, right? If he had been from Pittsburgh, he might have made rye whiskey, because rye grew good up there. Down here, he made corn whiskey, because corn grew down good here, and that became bourbon later on. So this little settlement's here, and it started to get bigger, and it was called Leestown. There's actually a road coming from Lexington called Leestown Road. That was where the Buffalo came through. Anyway, it got bigger and bigger, and it was a small distillery, old-fashioned, but somebody owned it. It was down by the river. I can't remember his name. But when it really became a big distillery is when Colonel Taylor got here. He was a banker from the western part of the state. His uncle was Zachary Taylor, who became president later on. You know, pretty influential family. So they sent him to to Europe, especially England, to see what was going over there, because the Industrial Revolution's just started up. And he comes back here with a lot of ideas, and he buys this place, and he changes it completely. And he liked the idea of copper, so he called this place Old Fire Copper. Steam and copper is what ran this place, and it still does. We still have a lot of steam. We don't do as much copper as he did, and we didn't know how much he did until recently when we went down and they were going to make a party room in his own part of his old distillery, overlooking the river, so you could drink and look at the river. Well, they started digging the floor up, and what they found was, there, that's better, isn't it? I'm sorry. I was facing down that way. Okay, and what they started digging the floor up, and it caved in, and they found his old fermenting tanks there. This is a long part of his distillery, but basically most of it had been turned into a boiler room after Prohibition, but this part had been saved, but then they covered it up with brick, and we found his old fermenting tanks and found remnants of copper hanging. So he had brick rectangle about this deep, and then he had 2x4s going around, whatever that were in those days, and had copper lining it, like sheets of copper. So that's, and his partner Stagg says, okay, I've had enough. Bourbon's at a low point, you're not doing too good, I'm going to pull my loans in and take the place from you, basically. So that's what he did. Colonel Taylor tried to work with him for a couple of years, they didn't get along. He went on the other side of town and started Old Taylor's, which is now Castle and Key. Anybody been there? Tomorrow you might go? Uh-oh, is that rain?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, Castle and Key, if you go there, you'll see a lot of old buildings that look like Castle. It's beautiful. He landed on his feet all the time. He was a mayor of the city. He got the Bottle and Bond Act passed by going to Washington, getting himself elected, and getting that law, which is the first consumer protection law. But he did okay. Stagg's got the place in the late 1880s, and he hires a bunch of people, but one was a guy named Albert Bacon Bland. Have you heard of him?
Yeah.
The Bacon part or the Bland part? Bland part. So he comes here and he works his way up, and by 1918 he's in charge of the place. Pretty good. He was a master distiller and president, and it was not a good time to be that, right? 1918, Prohibition, World War I, the flu epidemic, all this stuff's happening, and he's not doing too good. But he comes up with a great idea, and he sends these guys to Washington on a train to Washington. He sends these guys to Washington on a train with bottles, lots of bottles. And they talk to Congress. I guess they call that lobbying, right? Yeah. And he came back and they brought a license to make it for medicinal purposes. Oh. We didn't have to make much because there's 700 distilleries around here, and they're all closed. They can't do anything with their barrels, or just waiting for somebody to come in and steal it or something. So we bought their barrels and brought them down here and repurposed them for medicine. How do you make bourbon into medicine?
Painkillers.
What?
Painkillers.
Yeah, but how are you going to make it into medicine?
Label it medicine.
Yeah, you label it, yeah. You put it in little bottles, pint-sized bottles, and you put a label that says for medicinal purposes only. Pretty much the same stuff in there. So, we had upstairs behind the bar where everybody's getting the drinks who are on tours, there's a bunch of boxes framed. And all of them are from different companies because they would get money from us, you know, and we would put those out there in pint-sized bottles, and they all say for medicinal purposes. The best one up there is called Old Barbie. I just like the name of it. But when I read it, it says for medicinal purposes only, and the bottom it says the best in your medicine chest. Good, right? So you can get a 2006, we had a tornado. It knocked the top of that roof off. It knocked the bricks all the way down to the first, what do you call that, sill. So that was wide open. The roof was out in the parking lot. We couldn't get up there because the elevator was broke. So they finally got the elevator fixed 4 months later. They're going up there and they think, we're gonna throw this stuff away. It's been up here with cold, rain, snow, all this crazy weather. So they got up there after 4 months and they tasted it, and it was really good. They call it Colonel Taylor's Warehouse C Tornado Survivors. Has anybody had that?
Now these barrels have been filled. And now they send them They're headed to the warehouse.
You want to work here? Okay. Let's go this way, and we're going to go, and I'm going to take you to where we empty it. Hopefully, we'll see some barrels.
No, we don't have smell-o-vision in here, but it sure smells good.
Okay, they're not filling up anything. Usually, all these barrels will converge here when they're done, and they will empty them out here. They put they'll drill the bung out over here, and then they put those things in there, and it will start coming out. Smell this. This is a jar.
I'm with you. So the big distillery tanks, do they have to...
This is a rick. A lot of people think a rick is just these three right here. So this is rick number 5, but rick number 5 goes all the way to the top and all the way back. If you're going to put a barrel in there and they bring like 20 barrels at a time, they will turn that barrel on the... Go ahead, guys. How you doing? You okay? So you can see the different stations, and back there are the barrels. They're going to be emptied out at one place, and you have to block these barrels in the back. They have to be in one place when they empty it. So we're going to empty it, and then they're going to leave it over here, and they're going to bring the roof down to where it's supposed to be. The water barrels in the warehouse behind the roof. Evaporated water and the alcohol takes off and higher roof. So they're going to bring it down, and then they're going to put a lot of it in different boxes. Okay, well, hopefully they'll find us. We're going to do a vodka first because our master distiller, like I said, likes to experiment, and this is so. That probably may not mean anything to you, but when I was in college, I would drink this vodka, and it gave me a metallic taste in my mouth. It gave me a headache later on. It was a Russian or Polish name, and it was terrible. And it only went through distill 1 or 2 times, and that's why. If you don't get impurities out, you get headaches. Okay, this is 10 times for distill. This will not give you a headache. It's one of the only ones out there. It is the only one out there at 10 times. So give it a taste, see what you think. It should be sweet and go down easy. Now we're going to do bourbon. And I recommend taking Buffalo Trace and sipping it 2 or 3 times. Move it around your mouth. Because if you do that, then you're not going to say, oh, that first one burnt and the second one didn't. But if you move it around your mouth 3 times, you're going to condition your mouth. Basically make it numb. So this is Buffalo Trace. Where is this in the warehouse?
Middle.
Middle, yes. Okay. We're going to do bourbon cream, which is your dessert. So we take Buffalo Trace and we take it to Maine in big containers, and they infuse it with real cream and put it in that bottle. And it's called bourbon cream. I would drink a little bit of it. Don't drink the whole thing. Save a little bit because you want to put some root beer in it to make a root beer float. An adult root beer float.
Yep, that's how we got addicted to it.
Does that taste good?
Beer, Coke.
It's good by itself, right?
Yeah, root beer, Coke, ice cream.
Yeah, ice cream, root beer, Coke.
It is.
Some people put in their coffee in the morning. I had oatmeal for breakfast one morning. I couldn't find any milk in the house.
Put that on there,
There
tastes good.
too. I had a guy came in one time. He was making French toast and he put it in a recipe. Pretty good, huh? Anybody do anything different than those? I want to hear that. Some people make a
Bread pudding.
bread pudding. Oh,
It is good.
yeah. Oh, wow, that sounds good. You guys have a good time? Thank you.
Well, you can get them if you want them. Well, there goes the bottle Brenda's got in her hand and some cups. Okay, just so everybody knows, all tours at Buffalo Trace are free. You just need to register online which tour you want to go to. But they're all free, no charge, and that includes a tasting. Well, today we did have a great tour there, had a wonderful time, and we'd definitely go back again and recommend it to anybody. Well, on our way back to the trailer, we decided, hey, let's go ahead and stop and have lunch. So we stopped at Cheddar's and had each chicken pot pie, which was really good. I had coleslaw and Brenda had broccoli.